Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Rachel and welcome to my May TBR. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I will hopefully be able to get to in the month of May. I have quite the stack here, I gotta say, but I'm just feeling super motivated and very excited about all of these books. I am also carrying over a few books from April that I was not able to get to, and those books have just stayed at the forefront of my mind, so I wanted to include them in this video as well. Also, one of my most anticipated releases of the entire year is coming out in May, so I think it's gonna be a really great month. So let's get straight into it. These are all of the books that I hopefully will be able to get to in the month of May. So first off, let's talk about my two current reads. These are books that I will definitely be finishing in the month of May. The first one is an ARC, and that is The Deer and the Dragon by Piper CJ. So this is an adult fantasy romance, and it has a little bit of an urban fantasy twist. Our main character is a human girl living in a city, and she has an ability to see angels and demons, and there is a dark and haunting entity who continuously visits our main character in her apartment, and they develop a little bit of a romantic relationship. But once she sends him away once and for all, she finds out that he was actually a prince of hell and he is now missing. She is contacted by some fae who are connected to this world, and they ask her to help find him. So I'm only a little bit into this book, so I'm going to save my thoughts until I finish it, but the setup of this book I think is just really cool. I love that urban setting. I love angels, demons, fae. We also have a bisexual female main character, which I love. So I think there's just so many amazing components that make this book very enticing to me. So really looking forward to continuing reading this and hope that I end up loving it. The next book that I'm currently reading is House of Bane and Blood by Alexis L. Maynard. So this is another fantasy romance with a steampunk twist. This book has been described as Peaky Blinders with magic. So our main character's name is Carmilla, and her family has always had a lot of power in the city that they live in, but they end up in a lot of debt, so she ends up in a marriage of convenience with a member of a rival family named Nico. She's very unhappy about this, and the two definitely start off on a rough foot, but as they get to know one another and as this alliance between their families form, the two of them start investigating kidnappings and murders that are going on in the city. There's a war brewing. Both of them have special abilities and power and rank within the city, which may aid in helping resolve all of the issues going on. And this one, once again, I did just start, so I'm going to save my thoughts, but I'm very intrigued by this kind of like steampunk post-industrial setting for a fantasy romance that is definitely different, and that is something I'm always looking for with fantasy romance, books that are just a little bit different and give a unique twist. So I'm looking forward to continuing reading this. Once again, hope it is one that I enjoy. All right, so now let's get into the rest of my May TBR. I am going to be doing a couple of rereads this month, so let's start with those. So the first reread that I want to do in the month of May is The Crown of Oaths and Curses by J. Bree. So as I said, one of my most anticipated releases of the year is coming out in May on May 19th, and that is The Throne of Honor and Blood. That is the sequel to this book, and I am so excited for it. Oh my god. So that is on my TBR as well, but I did want to do a reread of The Crown of Oaths and Curses. I wasn't originally going to do a reread because I did read this book in September, and while I do remember a majority of this book, I feel like I will be doing The Throne of Honor and Blood a disservice if I do not refresh myself with this first book. I'm also just really excited to get back into this world, and I want to get back in this mindset. I used to be someone who wouldn't reread books before like the next book in the series would come out, but now I've learned that it just enhances your reading experience so much more, and I definitely don't want to be picking up the sequel and not remembering things about the world and history and lore and things like that. So I'm going to be rereading The Crown of Oaths and Curses, and I'm really looking forward to it. If you don't know, this is the first book in a fantasy romance series called The Mortal Fates. However, there are two prequel novellas that you must read before you start this one called The Sword and the Scepter. In this book, we have a centuries-long war going on between witches and fae. They absolutely hate each other, and our two main characters are a witch and a fae who find out that they are fated mates. This is devastating to both of them, and while war continues to brew in their world, there's also a war brewing between Rook and Soren as they try to navigate their future and the prophecy that has been set forth for both of them. This book was a very strong 4-star read, but honestly, I think about this book so much, I'm really curious how I will feel on a reread and if it's gonna be a 5-star book for me. This is one of the most unique fantasy romances I have ever read, and that is because there is no romance in this book. However, this is a fantasy romance series. There is going to be romance later on in the series, but it is just like the greatest enemies to lovers arc you could ever imagine. The characters absolutely hate each other, and I do not say that lightly. So I really enjoyed this book. I'm excited to get back into this world, and I cannot wait for the sequel. It's going to be so good. I'm definitely going to vlog it, and I really hope that it lives up to all the expectations that I have for it. The next book on my May TBR is another reread, and that is The Book of Azrael by Amber Nicole. So I read this book last summer, so it's been almost a year since I read it, and I've been really wanting to continue on with the series. I've also been seeing the author talking about the third book that is going to be coming out shortly, and I just feel that I need to do a reread. This is a book that has a lot of details and intricacies with the world building and the history that happens in this book, and I feel like I am just not refreshed on it enough to go into book 2, so I do want to pick up The Book of Azrael again. I did give this a 3.5 star on my first read. I don't know, I want to give it another shot. Hopefully I'll like it more, but even if not, I'm really excited to go on to the sequel, which I've heard even better things about. So in this book, our main character's name is Diana, and she is kind of like this morally gray villain, which is really fun to have our female main character be that morally gray villainous type. And she ends up begrudgingly having to team up with a god as war is brewing and everyone is searching for an ancient artifact, the Book of Asriel. So the two of them have to work together as the fate of the world rests on their shoulders. There's also a little bit of like an urban fantasy vibe to this book, which I really enjoy, particularly in the beginning. And I do remember really liking the dynamic between our characters. They are definitely enemies, two lovers, which we love. So I'm really looking forward to revisiting this. And then I do want to read the second book, which I also own next month. The next book on my May TBR is Lady of Embers by Melissa K. Rorick. If you've been watching my videos for the last few months, I've been working my way through the Lady of Darkness series, which is a fantasy romance series featuring fae and witches and shifters and amazing animal sidekicks and a huge explosive plot and very large cast of characters. Lady of Embers is the fourth book in the series and the second to last book before the finale, which is Lady of Starfire. I've had a really good time with the series, and the deeper that I get into the story, just the more connected I am to the characters. I feel very emotional about them, and I'm really excited to see what is going to happen in this fourth book. The third book left off on a crazy cliffhanger and I think set up a really interesting plot line. For the fourth book, a lot of alliances changed, a lot of loyalties were tested, so I think Lady of Embers is going to be a really good one. So I'm really looking forward to it, and then hopefully I'll be able to pick up the finale shortly after. The next book on my May TBR is Fates and Furies by Helen Shorer. So this is the third book in the Legends of Thesmar series. First book is Blood and Steel, second book is Vows and Ruins, and now we are at Fates and Furies. The finale of this book does come out in June or July, I want to say. Definitely this summer. I know that the author recently moved up the release date, which is very exciting, and I need to get to this second to last book. The Legends of Thesmar series is a series that focuses a lot on warriors and training, and the kind of main villain in this book is darkness, is dark beings, is shadow wraiths. And our female main character, her name is Althea. In the world that they live in, women are not allowed to train, but Thea fights her way into becoming a warrior, and her ultimate dream is to be a war sword, which is like the highest level of the military rank in this world. She is begrudgingly trained by Wilder Hawthorne, who is a legendary war sword, and we follow their romance and this brewing war. I'm really looking forward to this book, particularly because of the way that Vows and Ruins ended. I think it set up such an interesting plot line for book 3. We had a lot of shocking revelations, and I think that this book is going to be a lot of fun because of that. There's also amazing found family in this book, some of the best found family that I have ever read, so I'm looking forward to getting more of that and continuing this series. Next up on my May TBR is City of Lost Souls by Cassandra Clare. I am missing the Mortal Instruments, you guys. I am missing Clary and Jace, words that I never thought that I would say. When I was reading City of Bones and City of Ashes, I truly do not think that I ever thought that I would feel this way, but I do. I miss this world, I miss this cast of characters, and I'm really determined to finish the Mortal Instruments this year, and I just have 2 more books. So City of Lost Souls, once again, the second to last book in the series. I'm doing a lot of that apparently this month because I'm reading second to last book of Lady of Darkness and Legends of Thesmar, and now Mortal Instruments. That's very interesting. Unintentional theme, but really looking forward to the Mortal Instruments. Not really going to give a description of this because it's so iconic, but it is a YA urban fantasy, and I've just really enjoyed it. I have a lot of fun with these books, and particularly I have enjoyed the latter half of this series compared to the first few books in the series. I think it has only grown and strengthened, and I'm just really looking forward to finishing up the Mortal Instruments and then continuing on to the Dark Artifices. So really hope that I love this book. I did really like The City of Fallen Angels, which is the book prior to this, so I hope to have the same luck with this book. The next book on my May TBR is a book that I don't know too much about, to be honest with you. The back blurb is very sparse, but I've just seen some really good things about it, and I'm curious. So that book is Beyond the Aching Door. This is another fantasy romance, and I've seen it advertised as a combination of Divine Rivals meets A Court of Silver Flames. I have no idea what that means, but it definitely intrigues me because I do really enjoy both of those books. The back says, a mortal journalist, a mysterious series of drownings, an exiled Fae king, a forgotten fate song, one last desperate chance to save magic from extinction. So I think that that sounds really cool. I'm excited. Once again, I do not know too much about this book, but that is generally how I do like to go into a lot of books that I read. So I really do hope that this book delivers. The next book on my May TBR, I'm really excited about this book. I think that the plot just sounds absolutely amazing. We do have another fantasy romance. It might be a little bit more paranormal, I want to say. Maybe there's some paranormal elements, but in this book, we have our female main character. She has a type of magic that is forbidden. She also is a little bit of a Robin Hood, stealing from the rich to help out the poor. And one way or another, she ends up employed by a ghost to investigate some very mysterious happenings at a nearby university. She has to pose as a noblewoman and begrudgingly teams up with 4 very mysterious men who are also involved in this investigation, and she ends up having a relationship with all of them. So this is a reverse harem, and I just think that that plotline sounds so cool. I'm excited by this forbidden magic. I'm excited by this like university academy setting, and I love investigating a mystery. I mean, come on, that's always going to be a win for me. So I think this book sounds really cool. It's also just so beautiful, and the edges are gorgeous. So really high hopes hopes for this one. I just think that that synopsis sounds really intriguing, so I'm really looking forward to this. And the final book on my May TBR is Trial of the Sun Queen by Nisha J. Tooley. This is a very popular fantasy romance. This is the first book in a series, and I've heard it described as The Bachelor meets The Hunger Games. On the back, it says 10 women, a deadly contest, only one can win the Sun King's heart. I think this sounds like so much fun. I love trials. I'm a sucker for trials. I know that they're kind of like overused at this point. I don't care. I think that they're always really fun, and I think it just puts our main character in a very fun situation. So I'm really looking forward to this book, and I have just seen so many people gushing about this, saying it's fantastic. My hopes are high. I really, really do hope that I love this. All right, besties, so that is going to be it for my May TBR. I would love to hear what books are at the top of your May TBR. What are you most excited to read this month? And if you made it to this point in the video and you wanted to let me know, go ahead and leave the sun emoji. Please make sure that you're following me on Instagram and Goodreads. They are always linked down below. I really appreciate that you watched this video. I hope that you're having a fantastic day. I love you all so, so much, and I will catch you guys in the next one.